So, welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. As you know, I'm Sue Cook. Welcome to Rachel Mathews, who's going to be with me today for an interview. So, Rachel, how has your journey been? Where do you want to start with what you've been through?
Well, I suppose we could start with the misadventures of an accidental activist. This charts what happened to me from 2020 up until March 2025. And I feel the time is right now for people to be discussing the COVID era. There seems to be a lot of people writing about it. I know so many people that are writing about what happened, but the reason I wrote about it is because I had a slightly different experience to most people, because I got stuck in Spain for the first lockdown and then Italy for the second, and life there was very different. They were not messing around with the Spanish lockdown. You know, we weren't allowed out to even exercise for nearly 10 months. Sorry, 10 months. 10 weeks. It felt like 10 months.
10 years.
Yes, it did. And, you know, there was armed police on the streets. There was the army. They were going through your shopping to make sure you'd only got essentials. Drones.
Every single person?
Not every single person, just they would randomly pick you. And one of the things that they were particularly hot on was checking the details of foreigners to see if you'd been in the country too long, of which I was one of them. But I'd sent my passport back to the UK to be renewed with a friend in February, and a different friend was going over in March to bring it back as she was visiting relatives. And you can probably guess how well that plan turned out. So I was well and truly stuck. So yes, that was quite an awakening process, because before that I'd just been a digital nomad, travelling to the warmer parts of Europe and beyond, and running my business, which was teaching people garden design online. I was running that from my laptop, so I could go anywhere. I had created that 4-hour work week after reading Tim Ferriss's book. So I was living a very nice life, although there was a bit of a fly in the ointment that became more apparent as more time went on. But you know, I was, fancy free and enjoying life. And then the lockdown happened, and I was oblivious to most of how the world was really run. I understood a little bit about health and knew that allopathic medicine wasn't the be all and end all of there was other options, and I would prefer more natural remedies first. And I was aware the money supply was dodgy, but other than that, I was completely oblivious to the ways of the world. And this book charts that journey, really, because I think a lot of people now are beginning to question, like, oh, things aren't quite right, and why are the government doing such bizarre things? But when you know the bigger picture, when you've really done the research, nothing the government does is remotely bizarre now. You know what they're aiming for.
Yeah.
And it's all very clear. And I discovered all of this back in 2020 because I couldn't go anywhere, literally. I had a lot of time on my hands, and the urbanisation that my parents' holiday home was on was virtually empty. I think there was only 3 people living there, and everyone I knew had gone back to England, or virtually everybody in the local area. I knew people further afield, but I was completely on my own, didn't even have the dog at that point. And I researched. So what I've written this book for is to help those people that haven't got the time to do the research, maybe not the inclination, but I think there's something very powerful about reading someone's story, their journey of what woke them up, because it's less combative, because I'm sort of rewriting, and then I discovered this and this. The idea is that this will help people that are beginning to question, and even those who are well aware. It's quite an entertaining journey of me going from complete and utter naivety to, oh my God, this is going on in the world. And then, like, what do I do about it? Because, like many people, I mean, when I interviewed you for my channel, you mentioned about the trauma of it all. Well, I talk about the 5 stages of truth hell. You know, have you made it out the other side? Because, you know, there's shock, fear, anxiety, grief, anger. That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
So I discovered a way that got me out, and I share that. Like, here's what I did to become empowered, really, because you, as we discussed earlier, you have no choice. You have to work on yourself. You have to be good in who you are and come from a firm base. If you are stuck in anger, fear, or any of the other emotions, you cannot function optimally,
No.
and you are going to struggle with every bit of bad news that comes along.
Yep.
You're going to suffer with it.
Yep.
So it's very important that we do that inner work and come out the other side. So that is in part what this is about. Like, here's what I did, might help you. And then at the end, I kind of, once I've gone through all of this, and fighting back for me in a very small way was helped give me a sense of empowerment, because I wasn't just sitting there going, oh my God, look what they're doing to us all.
Yeah.
I was coming from a place of, no, actually, we're not going to allow this. I'm going to speak out, even though I'm not normally the type of person to speak out, my normal shy, introverted self. I had to get over that, because when you understand the bigger picture, there's more at stake here than me not liking being in the limelight.
Yeah.
And once you've made that decision, well, quite a lot happened after that. So if anyone that's seen Council Watch will know the journey, and I write about it in here, but also in the audio version of this that I've done, I actually incorporate our actual council speeches. So because it really captures, you can hear what's going on in the voice, and there's the behind the scenes of what I had to overcome, because the speech that went most viral, which was talking about EVs and the fire hazards and all the really detrimental mining. I mean, these things that are sold to us as green and good for the planet, they're just so destructive. The behind the scenes, that it was, I barely got through that speech because of everything that was happening to me at the time, which nobody has any clue about who's seen. 6 million people viewed it in its first weekend, and then it just went everywhere.
6 million people.
I know. For someone that doesn't like being in the limelight, it was like, oh no. Thankfully, I wasn't tagged on that version of the video. I was tagged on the one that 500,000 people saw, and that was like, oh yeah. But when the influencers shared it, thankfully I wasn't tagged. I'm forever grateful for that, because it would have just been unbearable. But people are starting to tag me now, but that's fine, because I've had more time to deal with it. And you pull yourself out of it, because to begin with it's like, oh, it's me, and now it's like, not really, it's not about me, I'm just the conduit, it's coming through, it doesn't matter what people say. And I've had quite a lot of comments. That same video, I've been called a dangerous far-right extremist green woke lefty cult leader, not all by the same person, I hasten to add. I should clarify, none of those things, but it's amazing the labels people put on you.
Yes.
So that's why doing the inner work and really knowing who you are before you throw yourself into the firing line is important, because people will put upon you either qualities that you don't have, or maybe you have in a small amount, and they just exaggerate everything, the good, the bad and the ugly. It gets, so you've got to know who you are. Because then you can just knock it to one side without it landing and destroying you, because it's hard speaking out, even if you're an extrovert, because you're going to get some pushback. I haven't been as bad as a lot of people get, but then I've chosen to do it in a very calm, controlled way, because I wanted to reach the people we were trying to communicate to, namely Colchester Council, although we have gone into other councils as well. But if you go in with an angry energy, again, that's why it's important to get out of anger. I mean, anger is a powerful emotion. It's a very good stepping stone to get you to take action. It's better than being in fear, grief, apathy. Anger's good for that, just getting you going, but you don't want to be living in anger. It kind of needs to come through the front door and out through the back as quickly as possible and get you moving. So because we haven't in Council Watch, it's attracted a lot of people that are also fairly calm. It's not to say we don't feel anger, we do, but we just don't dump it into what we're doing. We make sure that that's processed, and we go in with a calm energy, because you're more likely to reach people if you can be calm. So that's basically all in the book, that journey. And then in the last few chapters I put in, what could we do differently? I've got some ideas on health and education. But I, as a garden designer, when you go in to see clients, sometimes not one of the partner will be interested in getting the garden done, but not the other. And you can kind of see they're kind of not really, they're just going along with it. But when you come back with the plan and you show them what they can achieve, that vision of the future, suddenly they're all in, and it's like the budget's out the window. They want to do it. They can see it now.
Yeah.
So I think rather than constantly being on the back foot of, oh, they're doing this to us, they're going to bring in this and we'll have no freedom. Yeah. That's, that's true. But look how many of us there are. If we can create a collective vision of what we want to create, something so powerful,
Yeah.
it will get the average person off their backside and going, I want that. I want that for my children and future generations. Yes, we can do that. Because, if we waved a magic wand and got rid of all the psychopaths that seem to be running the place, and we took over the councils, we take over government, good people wanting to do good things, and we put in a structure of some description. I don't know how to architect that, but a structure of some description that even if people less good get in the future, they can't corrupt things in the way they've been corrupted. And that we create a society, because I don't know about you, but I think we work too much. Why are we working 5 days out of 7? It should be the other way around.
Yeah.
I think we should be building a society that isn't taxing people into an early grave, that we have time. And, we could do more community stuff. Like, I wouldn't object to having a busload of children over to show them how to grow food. And, you could have more apprentice and academy style education, that people come out with skills rather than brainwashing. And we could all be doing community stuff, do the things that pay the bills, do the community stuff, and then spend our time learning or travelling or painting, whatever people want to do. I don't think life should be this hard
and
this
very
expensive
hard at the moment.
So that's what I'm trying to do, is going around interviewing people that are one in the book, but also inspiring people and saying, well, what's your vision for the future? What could we do? Because I think we've all got some pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, and if we've all put them on the table and say, well, we could do this and we could do that, we can add to it and just create. Because at the moment, you see, especially on social media, you see people are so despondent that they realise it's a uniparty, and even the so-called alternatives have a lot of issues that make trusting difficult, or policies that you cannot get behind. So therefore people think, oh, it's hopeless, and they shrug their shoulders and they go back to the treadmill of life. But I think if we can come up with something that is really inspiring, that will change. Because I've seen it happen in a very small way with people's gardens, what they're willing to do when they've got that creative vision. And I would like us to do that rather than constantly being on the back foot. And that's what the book's about. It charts my journey, and it makes suggestions of what we could be doing differently. So there's a lot to it, which is, as you said, blimey, that's a lot of pages.
A lot of words.
There's a reason for that. But what it does is it takes people on the journey that I went on, so they realise the reasons why I've done what I've done and why I've spoken out. But also, let's come out the other side, because I feel there's an awful lot of us, and although it's important to spread the word and say, look, this is not right, we're all pointing at the problem rather than doing something about it.
Yeah, there's a lot to that, actually. And I totally get that. So what would you, if you were to give people some advice, what would you say to them?
From what point are they at?
Depends. This is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
Let
for
me turn around
the ones that are just coming round, or for the people that know exactly what the score
so
is?
Regardless of them, what would be your goal for you? What would you like to see happen?
Well, that we do just that we take back control. We stop supporting the big corporations, because what they're trying to do is stakeholder capitalism. So the control goes with governments, and because of the way our rules are set up, the governments can only do so much. So the bits the governments can't do with control-wise, the corporations can do. So between the two of them, they transition us out of our alleged democracy into stakeholder capitalism. But if everybody stops shopping at the supermarkets and these big, the Amazons of this world, although hilariously, the most cost-effective way to print the book is annoyingly with Amazon. I do have other options because I don't shop there. But so there are,
Same.
you can't completely avoid it. But just collapsing and supporting each other with where we shop. Because my mum said to me many years ago when I first started shopping with Amazon, she said, you'll destroy the high street if you do that. And it's like, oh, I don't care, and it's cheaper. Blah, blah. Oh, and I look back now, and now it's the opposite. My mum's going, oh, I'll get it from Amazon. It's easier. I go, no. We need to go to shops.
Yeah.
But if we all supported each other and look at it, I suppose the analogy I put in the back of the book is that picture, I don't know, I can't remember what the title of it is now, but it's something of spoons where you've got heaven and hell, and they're both identical. They've got food piled high and then the people in hell are starving because the cutlery is so long they can't feed themselves. And in heaven, they've got the long cutlery,
but they're helping each other.
Feeding each other. Yeah. Now, as a kid, that made no sense to me because I'm thinking, why don't you just pick it up and eat it? Then you wouldn't need the overly long cutlery in the first place. But now it makes sense. It's not about us feeding ourselves. It's about feeding each other.
Yeah.
And what they try and do is make the world as divisive as possible.
Yeah.
And, not everybody, even certainly with people that are aware what's going on, there's so many factions of people not agreeing and they argue over this and that. And it's like, you can still come together with people you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And there seems to be so much divisiveness that, if they support Palestine or they support Israel or whatever they're going with, and it's like, well, I don't support war full stop, so I don't care which side you support. I just stop it. I realise it's a bit more complicated than that, but I'm not going to get sucked into those arguments and
divide and conquer.
There must be ways that we can agree enough that things aren't going well and we need to take over, because if we keep letting the powers that shouldn't be pull all the strings, it's not working out well for us, and it's going to get worse. They seem to be, someone coined the phrase, and I don't know who to attribute this to, that we're free-range humans living on a tax farm. Well, they seem to be transitioning us over to battery farming method. And the free range was bad enough, the amount we're being taxed and extorted when you really look into it, which I go into a little bit in the book. I don't dive into too many dark places. I give people the information they want to know in the book. Well, not want to know, need to know. And the rest I say, you need to research that bit for yourself, because otherwise the book would be twice the size and it'd be really dark and depressing. There's actually a lot of, despite the subject matters, there's a lot of humour in the book.
Oh, your humour's great. I've thoroughly enjoyed reading the bits I've read.
So, it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of lightness and because I think that's important. You've got to keep your vibration high and, a bit of gallows humour. Karina and I, who's also one of the speakers at Council Watch, we will be giggling all the way to the gas chamber if they do get hold of us. We're not going to let it ruin what life we've got here. Now, yes, a lot of stuff could be on the horizon and things might get really quite tough. But once you've done that inner work, you can tackle it much better than if you are consumed by fear or anger. So that's really the message of the book, and the action steps people I think need to do is take control ourselves. And no one wants to do it. I mean, I get it, but I think it's the only way forward. We've got to be doing some proper grown-upping.
It's leadership and communication.
I don't know about the leadership because, and this is an idea afloat in the last chapter, at the Colchester stand in the park, they don't have an official leader. Everyone comes together, and there's some personalities that speak out more, some stronger than others. But when someone has an idea, they float it, and people say, I like that. And the people that agree with that idea go along and go do that. And the people that don't. But they take it in turns. You might need traditionally a head of state or something, but it works like a cooperative, and it's fascinating when people are coming from the same goal to achieve something. It's like the end result is the leader rather than an individual, and also then you've not got the weakness of one person. So someone steps in where if someone can't make something, someone else takes over, and it does work like it's a
collaborative.
Yes, and I think that old paradigm of the one leader, and we're not. I mean, when you think about the complexity of running a business, let alone a country. And you need the personalities that can cope with the structure at the moment and then rebuild it from the inside. So we've all got skill sets. So should one person be running an entire country? I don't know. You might need someone that has to make a decision. Maybe. But we just need to clean out all the dead wood and rebuild it.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And that is going to take all of us. It's not down to one person.
No, it can't be, can it? We all have
No.
our part to play
Yeah.
in rebuilding the news.
It's proper adulting, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the biggest takeaway I try to get across in the book, that we don't want to do it, but we're going to have to, because the alternative is so awful.
Yeah.
We need to do this. So that's how I look at it. But I know none of us want to, and everyone's busy with their lives. But I think there will come a tipping point when that becomes really obvious.
Yeah. I think Pam Gregory's been talking about that on her astrology updates, with top-down structures collapsing and grassroots things growing, and that. And it's all really positive. But she focuses on being in your eagle's perch and looking down from things rather than running around in the mud with the turkeys.
Absolutely. But look at what we tried to do with Council Watch.
Yeah.
We tried to reach the existing councillors, because we've got pretty good councillors in Colchester. Don't always agree with all of their political views, but they seem to be, for the most part, pretty good people. Yeah,
absolutely
They're
great.
trying their hardest, doing a job that, let's face
Lots
it, none
of
of us want.
integrity.
None of us want to do.
Yeah.
But it was impossible, because they're in a political party. They have to do as the political party tells them. It doesn't really inspire independent thought. The council officers are steering them, their training steering them, everything, all the rules and regulations. They are steered. They're not in control of that council.
Yeah.
And the ones we did reach aren't the ones that are running it. So it does need to be taken to pieces and start again. So we did try to work with what's there, but what became very obvious with Council Watch is it isn't possible. And that's with a relatively good council. We've seen other council watches and other people throughout the country go into their councils, and they've been dreadful, so rude.
Yeah,
you know,
it's been bad.
for all of the qualities that I dislike about certain councillors, at least the vast majority in Colchester are polite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're not. Some of them are downright abusive in some of these councils. Just shocking. Behaviour.
Yeah, I've seen some shocking videos. Yeah, but no, we've been very fortunate in Colchester, haven't
and we
we?
haven't been able to make a noteworthy change.
Yeah.
There's some little tiny things, like Karina's battled for 10 months to make sure that they do not accept safety certificates for 5G towers from companies using companies that have dissolved names. So there's no liability. So that's one thing, and that took 10 months of battling to achieve.
Yeah.
And that was just ridiculous. So if that's all we've really achieved, and okay, we've got the conversation about EVs and recycling, but they're still going for it.
Yeah,
They're not changed course.
No.
Because it's programmed, and all the money that they desperately need, it's, you do this from the
conditional.
government, Yeah, you can't fix potholes. No, you've got to install bicycle lanes everywhere that no one's using.
Yeah.
And a rapid transit bus service that they can't afford the buses for, that is now going over time so much and causing so much traffic congestion. And it's just,
It's crazy.
So we need people that serve the people. I think someone somewhere worked out, and I have no idea, I haven't done the maths, but the services that people actually want, like you just want your bins taken care of and stuff like that, it would be cost about £500 per year per household if we just paid for the things we actually wanted.
Yeah.
But most of the money that people pay, like in Colchester, I think they only get to keep 12 pence of the pound.
Yeah. The rest goes off to somewhere else.
Yeah, to Essex and to various other places that it's not serving us.
No, and it's dishonest in a way, in that we think that we're paying for this service here and the money's going here, but it isn't.
But also, they haven't agreed. It's a demand for money. It's not because the bill of it should be, you agree to what you pay for.
Yeah.
And we don't get a choice.
No.
So, and they do not serve us. So the whole system does need to go. But we tried. At least that's the one thing Council Watch proved, that you cannot change the system from outside the system. The system it looks after itself.
Yeah.
And it's very, very naive on my part, thinking we could make a difference. But hey-ho, you have to try, because now I've reached that decision, or not decision, that clarity of thought that actually, no, this is not possible. You then, the only option is that we do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And I had to go through that mental journey to, it doesn't matter how much information you give them.
You went through that journey, and we went with you. And so we're all aware that we can't change it from outside.
Well, Karina
So,
knew from the outset.
yeah.
She
Yeah.
wasn't that daft. She always thought what this will do is educate the public as to just how bad
Yes.
things are. So that
Yes.
was always her mission.
Yeah.
Whereas I genuinely thought we had a shot at
Yeah.
maybe changing, because the councils, if you think about it, they're the boots on the ground for the
Yeah.
government. So, which is why they're dissolving them and making them one big unitary council. So
Yeah,
it
with
gets
mayors.
even harder
Yeah.
for local people to have a say. But we thought if we could go, or I thought if we could go in and give them the information that we've got that they're not seeing, they won't do the dumb things that the government are directing them to
Yeah.
do. But that isn't the case at all. And some are very much on our side and totally see it, but not the ones running the council.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that taught us that we've got to do it ourselves. And that's where we're at.
But no one wants to do it. Although we did have a couple of people who were willing to run for Essex, but then they cancelled the elections. So,
Yeah. So that worked well, didn't it? No.
yeah. So, yeah.
So this is your first book.
Oh, this one, yes.
And tell us about this.
This one was, I wrote it in 2016 after a trip I did in 2013. I just started out as a digital nomad. I'd shut down my landscape construction company in Cambridge, and I chucked it all in and went travelling and discovered the hard way it's very difficult when you don't have online skills to do an online business. So it starts at a particularly low point where I'm failing at everything I'm doing, but yet I managed to scrape enough money together to get a camper van. But I didn't have enough money to go anywhere.
Oh.
Because I was really failing in my business.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll just go for a week. And then I discovered some ways of camping very cheaply. But then, of course, that put me in situations that were interesting and adventurous, and quite a lot went wrong, as you can see. So it was a 3-month journey in the end when I had no money, but it was that I had more personal growth happened as a result of everything that went wrong and taking a good hard look at myself, that I hadn't done the marketing properly because I didn't really like the marketing.
Yeah.
Self-promotion is a bit icky, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then working with mentors, although that will be in book 2. Yeah, there's a slight glitch. Book 1, book 3. Book 2, I'm a quarter of way through writing. I never intended to write 3 books, but this book, my change of worldview and personality was so different to this one. I tried writing this as a sequel, but then I'd got travel adventures where I was sort of in the Sequoia National Park, and I'd got lost, and there were black bears, and the best option to escape them was to basically go off-piste, which meant skidding down a mountain on my backside because the snow was too deep to wade through. And that really didn't go well and then me suddenly going to Colchester Council and doing this whole speech thing and being an environmental activist. There was such a disconnect between the sort of Calamity Jane goes camping, innocent abroad, has lots of mishaps, Rachel, with the very sort of well-read and researched and serious Council Watch stuff. I just couldn't blend the two.
Yeah.
And there was a whole load of horse whispering adventures and safaris. I just couldn't blend the 2 books. So I ended up cutting out my 4 favourite chapters of that book.
Yep.
And I thought that's going to have to go in a different book. And I'll have to somehow
As a bridge.
do a bridge book, which will be book 2. But the more I think about it, it's like nothing. I was not prepared for 2020. There is nothing I can write in book 2.
I don't think any of us were.
No, that can prepare for changing worldview.
In you, yeah.
I can hint at it. But so book 2 is going to be kind of a bridge, but also book 1 I'm struggling. Book 3 you're battling. And book 2 is going to be the nicest book for me to write because life was going pretty well and I had some amazing adventures.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so all around the world and doing South Africa and America and Croatia and Hungary, and there's so much. It's more digital nomad-y than the first book because the first book was just set in Spain.
I'm still stuck on the black bears and the what?
Well, I was the Sequoia National Park has big.
Is that in Oregon?
No, it's California. Well,
California.
California, but it's up a little bit, but not that far. And they've got the world's largest tree, General
Yeah.
Sherman. And it's like 300 feet tall and 30 feet wide, and I wanted to go and see it.
Yeah.
So I drove up there, and it was shorts and T-shirts weather when you're on the ground, but the Airbnb hosts that I was staying with warned me there might be snow. They were not kidding. So I took a load of stuff with me.
Might be snow.
And there was the option of taking the shuttle to see it, which would be a 1-minute journey. Then there was the option of the 10-minute walk, and then there was the option of taking the scenic route.
On foot?
Yeah. Anyone that's read my first book's probably squealing like, oh no, she didn't. Of course I did. I took the scenic route because I wanted to see a lot more trees, because they're amazing trees.
Trees are great, aren't they?
So I took the scenic route and got a bit lost.
Oh.
And I had a few near misses because there was so much snow the further in I got, because less people had walked, that there was one point where I walked over a stream and I had no idea until the snow gave way, and I just got across the other side. And then there was a few places the bears were hibernating, but I'd made so much noise banging and crashing my way through, and the snow was getting deeper and deeper.
Oh my goodness.
I was following a set trail, but I should have turned off.
Oh.
And then the further I went in, I was down to a pair of snowshoes and normal shoes to follow. And then the normal shoes turned around and went back.
Oh.
And then all I got was the snowshoes to follow.
Yeah.
And it was like, now what do I do? And there was no phone signal up there. But I thought, I'll just check.
And what were you wearing?
Normal hiking shoes.
And not shorts and T-shirt?
No, I'd got all the layers, everything I'd packed in my hand luggage. I was wearing everything from my hand luggage. So I was like out here with clothes. And then by this time I'd been walking about 2 or 3 hours. So I'd run out of food and water.
Oh my goodness.
And it was getting to the point where I really need to end this little
Was it getting
adventure.
dark by now as well?
It was really misty and overcast, because it was quite early in the day, but there was so much fog you could only see like 100 yards.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, do I go back the way I came? But I looked at my phone, and it had just managed to get enough signal to show where I was in relation to the road.
Yeah.
And because I was so close to the road, if I went off-piste, and I thought, okay, well, I'll do that then. So I had the bright idea of turning my empty rucksack, into a toboggan.
Sleigh.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I went so blooming fast. I just took off down this mountain that I was scared to death. And then I was coming to this precipice, and I'm thinking,
no.
Is that a precipice, or is it just a bump and I'll go down?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I better stop. Could I stop? No. So I'm digging my heels into the snow to try and stop.
Yeah.
The dog is sensing trauma.
Yeah.
She's very empathic at trauma. And then I managed to stop. And it wasn't a precipice, it was another bit, but it was even steeper, but I'd gone so fast, I thought, I'm halfway to the road, I'm not going to risk any more. And I didn't want to go back the way I came, because it was bits that looked like there could be bears hibernating. So I thought, I don't want to go back that way.
Yeah.
So I stood up, and then I sank to my thighs in snow. It was like, uh-oh, I'm not walking out of here anytime soon. So it was, I can't toboggan and I can't walk. What do I do?
Yeah.
That'll be in the second book.
Oh my goodness, this is thrilling.
So
this is a cliffhanger, literally.
Yes. And then
got the dog cuddles here.
Yes, dog cuddles.
Good girl.
Sorry, you're covered in dog hair. She's molting at the moment.
I'll tell the chickens about it later.
Yeah, tell the chick, put it in the chicken report. So there was that, and then the technique I used to get out, I had to use a few months later, going down the world's most active volcano.
Oh, hello. Which one was that?
Stromboli.
Oh.
Yes, which it's so there was lots of like travel adventures like that just did not work with the council watching.
No. Where's your head at with all this?
Well, I was going to go straight into finishing writing book 2, but now I've taken some time away from writing. I'm thinking that's a winter.
Yes, a winter activity.
Yeah. So I'm gardening. I'm on gardening leave at the moment.
And are you enjoying it?
I really am.
Yeah. What inspires you about gardening?
For me, I like doing creative things.
Yeah.
And I started out as a florist, actually. But, once you've done every type of flower arrangement.
Done that?
Yeah, done that.
Yeah.
Whereas with gardens, every single garden is different.
Yeah.
Every client is different, and they've all got different challenges. So they're always, it's the challenges of coming up with creative solutions, because I'm a creative problem solver. I love creative problem solving. So that was the thing. But then once I got good at it, and realised there was a formula to designing gardens.
Yeah, I've done one of your courses.
Have you?
I have, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, about circles and
Yes. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
So there's a formula.
Yeah.
Once I'd figured out the formula,
Yeah, loved it.
then wasn't difficult anymore. And then it was, this isn't difficult now. So it kind of lost the edge.
Yeah,
to
you
it.
like a challenge, don't you?
I do. Well, yeah, I do. Unfortunately, bad personality trait that needs to be.
But look where that got you in 2020 when the council thing. You're like,
love a challenge.
Hello, I like a challenge. Why? Here we go.
Yeah.
Have a challenge.
Yeah. But the joy of teaching people, complete amateurs, and getting them to professional level within a few weeks, which the colleges can't do because they teach theory, they don't teach a formula.
Yeah.
It's obvious when you think about it. If you've got a long, narrow garden, you need to make it look wider. If you've got a short, stumpy garden, you want to make it look longer, and a small garden larger. There's certain things that you can do that work every single time, no matter where you are in the world. So that's what I teach in my online garden design courses over at successfulgardendesigner.com. So I do like a free webinar where I walk people through the 9 steps. And then if they want to do the full course, they get it at a discount for attending the webinar. And then they've got a step-by-step formula that they can follow. And I've also included plan packs so people can get ideas from gardens I've already done. So there's that aspect. But recently, I blame David Austin. I made the huge error of buying one rose because my garden at home, I haven't designed it to my tastes because of practicalities. There's the dog, she needs the lawn. Also, I wasn't sure when I designed the garden initially how long I'd be in that house. I was anticipating 2 or 3 years, then maybe rent it out or sell it. And it needs a garden that for a family. So I haven't designed it. I would have been all wildflowers and trees and it would have been all natural. So I thought, well, at least with the planting scheme, I can have grasses and flowers and trees. So I've done that. Cheap and cheerful design, but the planting's nice.
Yeah.
So it wasn't meant to be an English cottage garden. So there weren't any roses on the initial thing. But when I was in Portugal last year, I saw this beautiful rose and I thought, it wouldn't hurt if I just buy one rose and pop that in. It won't hurt. 9 roses later, I've now got an English country garden with a few grasses with a slightly Dutch twist to it, a modern Dutch twist.
What's a Dutch twist?
Well, I was studying the style of Pete Aldorf, who does big mass planting. So he'll put like hundreds of grasses and then he'll intersperse them with echinacea, and it's so beautiful because it's very fluid. You've got the grasses moving and then you've got the flowers and it's just beautiful, but it's en masse, and with a small garden to try and recreate a Pete Aldorf style was tricky. Yeah. So, but I paid homage to him.
Homage.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, it's so putting a whole load of English roses in. So it's beautiful, but it's just changed the feel of it a little bit. Yeah. So, but it's still, I mean, the grasses look gorgeous because I've got one Stipa tenuissima.
I love Stipa tenuissima. Yeah.
So it's like hair, and it wafts and the light catches it. And I've got some grasses that should be flowering pink soon, but haven't yet.
What are they?
I can't remember the name of them actually. I'll have to look it up because it's a grass I've never used as a designer. Okay. So I thought I'd test it.
Is it like architectural grass?
Yeah, it's not actually that attractive just in its grass state. I'm waiting to flower it to flower to see whether it's a keeper or not. So I thought I'll test it in my own garden. So we'll see how that looks with the agapanthus and so I mean the roses work. It's just tilted the garden from the Pete Aldorf style more into English. Yeah. But those roses, David Austin roses, need to come with a health warning or an addiction warning.
What's it called? Tell us about this rose.
It's Rose Sceptred Isle.
Yeah, what colour is that?
It's a soft pink and it's beautiful scent.
Yeah, amazing.
And now I've got them everywhere.
So I was going to ask you what your favourite plant is, but I'm guessing...
It's this one at this moment in time.
So before the Sceptred Isle, pale pink rose, what was your favourite plant?
Probably agapanthus because it's evergreen, it's architectural.
Is that what we've got here?
No, that's acanthus. The agapanthus is...
Well,
it's not in flower yet.
Yeah,
it's
with
not
the
in flower
blue.
Yet, but the blue, because it flowers for months when it goes. Yeah. But that probably. Yeah. Probably.
Oh, I love it.
It changes depending on the garden I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a lover of herbs because being a homeopath and getting into herbs before I was a homeopath.
Yes.
So yeah, I love them.
I've got a few in the garden. I've
Yeah.
got dill for the dog because that's very good for stomach.
Dill the dog, a dog called Dill.
And actually, if anyone has food poisoning, dill is wonderful for that.
Is it?
Yeah, apparently it sorts out E. coli. I've never tested it.
Really?
Apparently so,
Golly.
yes.
E. coli specifically.
It is one of the things it's good at.
That's
but
so
it
cool.
also does other stomach soothing things.
Because fennel's very much like that too, isn't
Yes.
it? Fennel's very good for, that's what's in gripe water.
Yeah, I did
Antispasmodic.
have some fennel, but it died, so I need to get some
Yeah.
more of that. I've got rosemary, sage, artemisia again for the dog, wormwood.
Yeah. Wormwood's an amazing healer.
I know. So so the medicines in the garden are for the dog, just in case you can't get what you need.
Yeah.
But it was going to be. I was going to put the entire garden down to medicinal.
Yeah.
And then I thought, actually, no, I want it to be pretty.
Yeah, it needs to be pretty too. Because mine's a bit like that. Because I've got probably, I don't know, loads of different herbs for medicine, and so I've also got flowers people have given me, and it's wonderful. It's absolute joy when you see them flowering and remember the person that gave you that. It's just wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And happy memories associated with it. And now you've got your new rose. I'm loving this.
Well, no, I didn't stop at one. I've got
9.
Nine.
Are they all different? Are they?
Yes,
all...
I've got climbing roses now, so it's going to be. Because I never got round to doing the fences. I thought I'll sort that out. I know I was growing runner beans, a lot of runner beans. So, but this year it's like, oh no, that could be a rose. And now I've got wisteria going around the house and another climbing rose. And anywhere there's a space, it's like, oh, which rose could I put in there? So I've become absolutely obsessed with
I
them.
want to go and do that now.
Yeah. And David Austin is the gateway drug. I'm now onto Peter Beale's roses as well. So it's just because they look very different.
We had that with Lily Allen being the gateway hen to stronger chickens.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
But I've always been so controlled with my planting. As a designer, you have to be. You can't get carried away. That's something the general public do. And now it's like, oh dear, I can't stop myself now with these roses. But it's weird. It's had such a. I can see why people get obsessed and fascinated with them now. So.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I'm obsessed with plants too, so I totally get that.
Yeah, but I've always been immune to that. I've been trained. And now I've just all the training went out the window, and it's like, oh, roses.
You're now an addict.
I'm now an addict. I need
You'll
help.
have to do a 12-step program to wean yourself off roses.
Yeah, it's all right. The hard noise wasn't a bad one. Probably bored people to death with roses.
Where can people get a hold of you, Rachel?
Well, there's rachelmathews.uk, and that's Rachel spelt Rachel, and Mathews with just the one T, and it's .uk. And if they're interested in the books, /books, and you can see the ones I've got, and then there's individual pages for them. Or if you'd like a rose-obsessed garden designer to talk you through how to design your garden, don't worry, I don't mention roses, go to successfulgardendesigner.com.
Great, thank you very much. So I hope you've enjoyed that interview today, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next one.